My daughter just stole $78,000 from my bank account while I was standing right there watching her do it. I'm Marianne Tucker, 60 years old, and I spent 34 years as a high school principal in Detroit, teaching kids about integrity and consequences. But nothing in 3 decades of education prepared me for the moment I discovered my own daughter had been systematically stealing my life savings for 4 months. I found out on a Tuesday morning in August. I was sitting at my kitchen table in my house on Woodward Avenue, the same house Gerald and I bought in 1992, going through my monthly bank statement from Comerica. The numbers didn't make sense. My savings account showed a balance of $67,000. It should have been $145,000. Gerald's life insurance money. The retirement lump sum I'd taken when I left Detroit Public Schools last year. Money I was living on while my pension got processed. Money that was supposed to last me the rest of my life. I called the bank. Jennifer Walsh, the branch manager I'd known for 15 years, pulled up my account history. Mrs. Tucker, I'm showing regular withdrawals over the past 4 months. $18,000 in April. $22,000 in May. $15,000 in June. $11,000 in July. All initiated by the joint account holder. Joint account holder. The words hit me like cold water. What joint account holder? Your daughter, Ava Tucker Hayes. You added her to the account in March. She has full withdrawal privileges. I remembered that day. March 12th. Ava had insisted on taking me to the bank. Said we needed to set up emergency access in case something happened to me. Said it was just a precaution. Said lots of families did it after a parent lost their spouse. I'd been so deep in grief over Gerald that I'd signed the papers without really reading them. Trusted my daughter, my only child. The girl I'd raised to know right from wrong. Some of you watching might know pieces of this story. It's been talked about in a few Detroit community circles, shared in some retirement groups about family financial abuse. Hit that subscribe button and let me know where you're watching from. Because what I'm about to tell you will show you that sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who hurt you deepest. And sometimes discovering the truth means losing everything you thought you had. Let me back up, give you the whole picture. 2 years ago, Gerald died. Massive stroke at age 58 while driving home from his shift supervisor job at the GM plant in Hamtramck. He was gone before the ambulance arrived. No warning, no goodbye. No chance to say the things you always think you'll have time to say. 36 years of marriage ended in a hospital parking lot on a Wednesday afternoon in June 2023. I fell apart, not dramatically, not all at once, but slowly, quietly, in ways I didn't recognize until much later. I forgot appointments, paid bills twice or not at all, left the stove on, couldn't remember if I'd taken my blood pressure medication. Small things, normal grief things. Things that happen when your entire world collapses and you're trying to figure out how to live in the wreckage. Ava noticed. Started calling more often. Started dropping by unannounced. Started asking questions about my daily routine, my medication schedule, my bill payments. At first, I was grateful. My daughter cared. My daughter was checking on me. My daughter wanted to make sure I was okay. Mom, I'm worried about you, she said one evening last February. We were sitting in my living room, the same room where Gerald and I had watched Ava grow up, where we'd celebrated birthdays and Christmases and all the ordinary moments that make up a family. You left the coffee pot on all day yesterday. I could smell it from the porch. I forgot. I'm sorry. And last week you paid the electric bill twice. I saw both checks when I was helping you organize your desk. Had I? I didn't remember. The days blended together since Gerald died. Morning, afternoon, evening, all the same gray fog of missing him. I'll be more careful. Mom, you're 60 years old. Dad's been gone almost 2 years. Maybe it's time to consider some help, just with the financial stuff. The bills and the bank accounts and all that paperwork you hate dealing with. I hated that she was right. I did hate paperwork. Gerald had always handled our finances, balanced the checkbook, paid the bills, made sure our modest savings were protected. I'd focused on my career, on running a school with 1,200 students, on being the kind of principal who knew every kid's name. The money stuff was Gerald's territory. What kind of help? Just let me be added to your bank account. As a backup. In case something happens. In case you forget to pay something important, or need help accessing funds, I wouldn't touch anything. I'd just be there if you needed me. If I needed her. That phrase carried weight I didn't understand then. Made me feel old. Made me feel incompetent. Made me feel like I was becoming the kind of person who needed managing instead of being the person who managed things. But Ava was my daughter. She loved me. She was offering to help. What kind of mother says no to that? Okay, if you think it's necessary. I do, Mom. Dad would want someone looking out for you. Dad would want. She knew exactly what to say, knew exactly how to make me feel like refusing would be disrespecting Gerald's memory. So in March, we went to Comerica Bank on Grand River Avenue. Jennifer Walsh, who'd handled our accounts for years, processed the paperwork to add Ava as a joint account holder. This gives your daughter full access, Jennifer explained. She can make deposits, withdrawals, transfers, anything you can do. That's fine. It's just for emergencies. Ava squeezed my hand. Just for emergencies, Mom. I promise. But sitting at my kitchen table 5 months later, staring at bank statements showing $78,000 in withdrawals, I realized my daughter had lied. Those weren't emergencies. Those were systematic theft, and I'd made it possible by trusting family over common sense. I called Ava. She answered on the third ring, her voice cheerful. Hey, Mom, what's up? I'm looking at my bank statement. There are withdrawals I don't remember making. Silence. Then, carefully, what kind of withdrawals? Large ones. $18,000 in April, $22,000 in May. The bank says you made them. Mom, we talked about this. Remember? You needed help with some bills. The property tax was due, the roof repair, the new water heater. I looked around my kitchen. The water heater was 15 years old but working fine. The roof didn't leak. I'd paid my property taxes in February like always, before Gerald died, before my world fell apart. Ava, what are you talking about? Mom, you're confused again. This is exactly why we set up the joint account, so I could handle things when you couldn't remember. When I couldn't remember, she said it so easily. Like my grief-induced forgetfulness was the same as dementia. Like my normal mourning process was proof I couldn't manage my own affairs. I want you to come over. Tonight. We need to talk about this. Mom, I can't tonight. Brandon has to work late, and I need to get the kids from their after-school program. Then tomorrow. First thing. Long pause. Okay. Tomorrow morning. 10 a.m. She hung up before I could say anything else. I sat holding the phone, my hands shaking. Ava had taken $78,000. My daughter, the girl I'd raised to understand right from wrong, the girl who'd cried at her father's funeral and promised we'd get through this together. That girl had stolen from me. I didn't sleep that night. Kept replaying conversations from the past few months, looking for signs I'd missed. Looking for moments when Ava had stopped being my daughter and started being something else. A thief, an opportunist, someone who saw her grieving mother as a resource to be exploited. Ava arrived at 10:15 the next morning. She was wearing her hospital administrator clothes, professional blazer and slacks, like she'd just come from work. But it was Wednesday, her day off. She dressed up for this conversation, armor. Mom, before you say anything, I need you to understand something. Brandon lost his job. That wasn't what I expected. When? 5 months ago. March. Right after we set up the joint account. March. The same month she'd convinced me I needed help managing my money. The same month she'd gotten access to my savings. Why didn't you tell me? Because you were already dealing with so much. Dad's death, your retirement, the house. I didn't want to add to your stress. So you decided to steal from me instead? Her face hardened. I didn't steal, Mom. I borrowed. There's a difference. You took $78,000 without asking permission. That's theft, Ava. You wouldn't have understood. You would have said no. You would have lectured me about budgeting and living within our means, all the principal things you used to tell students. But Mom, we were drowning. The mortgage, the car payments, Sophia's school supplies, Isaiah's asthma medication. We couldn't keep up. I looked at my daughter and saw a stranger. So you decided my money should pay for your life? It's not like you need it all. You have the house paid off. You have your pension coming. $145,000 sitting in savings, earning nothing. Dad's life insurance that was supposed to be for both of you. But he's gone, Mom. He's not coming back. And we needed help. Then you should have asked. Would you have given me $78,000? The honest answer was no. I wouldn't have. Not all at once. Not without questions. Not without understanding where the money was going and why they needed so much. I would have helped. But not like this. Not with lies and manipulation and treating me like I was too confused to notice. Ava pulled out her phone, started scrolling through something. Bank statements, I realized. Her bank statements. Look at this. March mortgage payment, $2,400. We couldn't make it. We were 3 months behind. The bank was sending foreclosure notices. April credit card bills, $52,000 in debt. Collection agencies calling every day. May car payment, $850. We were 2 months late. They were going to repossess Brandon's truck. He needs that truck to do Uber. It's the only income we have right now. What happened to your salary? You make good money at the hospital. $64,000 a year, Mom, before taxes. After taxes, we bring home about $3,800 a month. Mortgage is $2,400. Car payment, $850. Insurance, $340. Utilities, $280. Groceries, $600. That's $4,470 right there. We're already $600 in the hole every month, and that's before the credit card minimums, before the kids' expenses, before anything extra. I did the math quickly. The numbers didn't add up to the crisis she was describing. How did you get $52,000 in credit card debt? She looked away. Living expenses. When Brandon was working, we made $145,000 combined. We had a lifestyle. Nice house in Southfield, new cars, the kids in good schools. We couldn't just cut everything when he lost his job. We had to maintain appearances. Maintain appearances while stealing from her widowed mother. And the $18,000 you took in April, where did that go? Mortgage, to catch up the 3 months we were behind and pay April. The $22,000 in May? Credit cards. To get them under control. To stop the collection calls. The $15,000 in June? She hesitated. Brandon's truck needed repairs, and we had to catch up some other bills. What other bills? Does it matter? Mom, we were desperate. You don't understand what it's like to watch everything you've built falling apart. To lie awake at night wondering if you'll lose your house. To hear your kids ask why their friends have things they can't have anymore. You're right. I don't understand. Because when Gerald and I had money problems, we didn't steal from family. We cut back. We sacrificed. We lived within our means. Times are different now, Mom. Everything costs more. And we have kids. We have responsibilities. I had a kid too, Ava. I had you. And I raised you to know that stealing is wrong no matter how you justify it. She stood up. Fine. You want the money back? I'll pay you back. Every penny. It'll take time, but I'll do it. How? You just told me you're $600 in the hole every month. I'll figure it out. Brandon will find a better job. I'll pick up extra shifts. We'll make it work. But I could see in her eyes she didn't believe that. Couldn't figure out how to climb out of the hole she'd dug. And instead of admitting that, instead of asking for real help, she'd just stolen more. After Ava left, I sat in Gerald's chair, the worn recliner where he used to watch the Pistons games, and tried to understand how we'd gotten here. How my daughter had become someone who could take $78,000 and call it borrowing. How I'd become someone so buried in grief that I hadn't noticed. I pulled out my own bank statements, went through them line by line. April 15th, $18,000 withdrawal. Memo, property tax. But I'd already paid property tax in February. April 28th, another $4,000. Memo, roof repair. My roof was fine. May 9th, $22,000. Memo, emergency medical. What emergency? May 31st, $8,000. Memo, water heater replacement. I walked downstairs to the basement. The water heater had a manufacturing date of 2009. Old, but working perfectly. Every withdrawal had a memo. Every memo was a lie. Ava had been documenting her theft like it was legitimate business. Like if she wrote down a reason, that made it okay. My phone rang. Brandon. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Marianne, we need to talk. I don't think we have anything to say to each other. Please. Just 5 minutes. Ava's falling apart. She can't eat. She can't sleep. You have to understand, this is my fault, not hers. How is stealing my money your fault? Because I lost the job. Because I put us in this position. Because I'm the one who kept saying we could borrow from you and pay it back before you noticed. Borrow and pay it back before I noticed. They'd planned this. Had calculated that my grief made me vulnerable. Had bet that I wouldn't check my statements carefully. Had gambled with my financial security and lost. Brandon, I want the truth, all $78,000. Where did it actually go? Long silence. Can I come over? This isn't a phone conversation. He arrived 20 minutes later. Looked terrible, hadn't shaved in days, dark circles under his eyes. The confident man who'd married my daughter 8 years ago had been replaced by someone who looked defeated. The mortgage was real, he started. We were 3 months behind, $7,200. That came out of the April money. The credit cards were real too. $52,000 in debt. We paid $22,000 in May to get them current. That's $29,200 accounted for. That leaves $48,800. Where did that go? He couldn't meet my eyes. My truck did need work. $3,200. And we had to pay back some people. What people? Marianne, I have a problem. With gambling, sports betting, online poker. It got out of control when I lost my job. I thought I could win back what we'd lost. Thought I could fix everything with one good night. Gambling. My son-in-law had a gambling addiction and had been using my money to feed it. How much? $18,000 to bookies. Guys who don't take "I'll pay you later" as an answer. The rest went to regular bills. Car insurance. Utilities. Groceries. Kids' expenses. All the normal stuff that doesn't stop needing paid just because you lost your income. I looked at this man sitting in my living room, father of my grandchildren, husband to my daughter. Does Ava know about the gambling? No. She thinks the $18,000 went to the truck and catching up other bills. I've been hiding it. So you stole from me and lied to your wife. I'm trying to get help. I joined a Gamblers Anonymous group. Haven't placed a bet in 6 weeks. I'm driving Uber 60 hours a week, doing everything I can to turn this around. 60 hours a week at Uber. That's what? $25 an hour average? $1,000? $500 weekly. $6,000 monthly. Before gas and expenses. Maybe $4,500 take home. Combined with Ava's $3,800, that's $8,300 monthly. Your expenses you told me about are $4,470. Where's the other $3,800 going? He looked surprised I'd done the math that fast. 34 years as a principal taught you to spot budget lies from a mile away. Credit card minimums. $2,200 a month. Student loans. $680. The kids' activities. Sophia's gymnastics is $180 monthly. Isaiah's asthma medication is $340 with insurance. That's $3,400. You still have $400 unaccounted for. Life, Marianne, school supplies, car maintenance, doctor visits. Everything costs money. Everything adds up. I stood up. Get out of my house. Please, just listen. Get out. And tell Ava I want a payment plan in writing. Every dollar accounted for. Every cent you plan to pay back and when. You have 1 week. He left without another word. I locked the door behind him and called Dr. Patricia Reynolds, my physician for 12 years, made an appointment for the next morning. If Ava was going to claim I was confused, that I couldn't manage my own affairs, I needed documentation proving otherwise. Dr. Reynolds saw me at 9 a.m. Thursday, did a full cognitive assessment, memory tests, problem solving, orientation to time and place. The Montreal Cognitive Assessment that screens for dementia. I scored 28 out of 30, well within normal range for someone my age. Marianne, your cognitive function is excellent, Dr. Reynolds said. You're grieving, which can affect short-term memory and concentration, but you're nowhere near incompetent. Why did you need this assessment? I told her everything. The joint account. The $78,000. Ava's claims that I was too confused to manage money. Dr. Reynolds' face darkened. That's elder financial abuse. It's a crime in Michigan. Have you spoken to an attorney? Not yet. You should. What your daughter did, joint account or not, it's exploitation. And if she's claiming you're incompetent to justify it, that's even worse. I left with a written evaluation. Dr. Patricia Reynolds, MD, certifies that Marianne Tucker, age 60, demonstrates normal cognitive function with no signs of dementia or incapacity. Patient is fully capable of managing her own financial and personal affairs. That afternoon, I called attorney David Mitchell. He'd handled Gerald's estate after he died. Knew me. Knew I wasn't some confused elderly woman being taken advantage of. Marianne, I'm sorry you're going through this. Let's schedule a consultation. Bring all your bank statements, the joint account paperwork, any communication with Ava about the money. We'll figure out your options. Options. I didn't want options. I wanted my money back. I wanted my daughter to acknowledge what she'd done was wrong. I wanted my family to stop falling apart. But Gerald was dead. $78,000 was gone. And my daughter had proven she valued money more than integrity. Maybe options were all I had left. Friday morning, I met with attorney David Mitchell in his office downtown. He was a black man in his 52s, sharp suit, kind eyes, the type of lawyer who'd built his practice on helping working-class families navigate legal problems they never thought they'd face. Gerald had trusted him. That was enough for me. I spread out 4 months of bank statements on his desk, pointed to each withdrawal, showed him the memos Ava had written. Property tax I'd already paid, roof repair that never happened, medical emergency that didn't exist, water heater replacement for equipment that was working fine. David reviewed everything in silence. Finally, he looked up. Marianne, this is textbook elder financial abuse. Your daughter had legal access to the account, yes. But she used that access to take money under false pretenses. The fabricated memos show intent to deceive. That moves this from a civil matter into potential criminal territory. Criminal? You mean Ava could go to jail? Michigan law is clear. Financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult is a felony. Taking more than $50,000 carries up to 15 years. And Marianne, I'm sorry, but losing your spouse recently makes you legally vulnerable under the statute, even though you're clearly competent. 15 years. My daughter facing 15 years in prison because she couldn't handle her husband's job loss and gambling problem. Because she'd convinced herself that taking from me was somehow different than stealing from a stranger. I don't want her to go to prison, David. I want my money back. Then we pursue civil recovery. File a lawsuit for return of funds. The joint account complicates things. But the false memos and your cognitive evaluation give us strong grounds. We can likely recover most of what was taken. Most? Not all? Legal fees, court costs, they add up. And if Ava and Brandon don't have liquid assets, we'd have to force sale of property or garnish wages. That takes time. Could be 18 months before you see significant recovery. 18 months. I was 60 years old. I'd retired expecting to live comfortably on $145,000 in savings plus my pension. Now I had $67,000 left and faced years of legal battles to recover what my own daughter had stolen. What if I want to give her a chance to make this right? Without courts? David leaned back in his chair. You can try. Draft a repayment agreement. Specific amounts. Specific timeline. Have her sign it notarized. If she defaults, the agreement becomes evidence in a lawsuit. But Marianne, people who steal $78,000 rarely have the means to pay it back quickly. She says Brandon's working Uber. She's working full-time. They'll figure it out. At their income level, after their expenses, they might manage $500 monthly if they're lucky. That's 13 years to repay $78,000, assuming they never miss a payment. Assuming no other emergencies. Assuming their situation doesn't get worse. 13 years. I'd be 73 before I saw my money back. If I lived that long, if they actually paid consistently, if their lives didn't collapse further under the weight of debt they'd created. Draft the agreement anyway. Give her 2 weeks to sign it. If she doesn't, or if she misses a payment, we file the lawsuit. One more thing, David said. You should remove her from the joint account immediately. She can continue taking money while this plays out. I'd already thought of that. Had an appointment with Jennifer Walsh at Comerica for that afternoon. But hearing David say it made it real. I was about to cut my daughter off from my financial life completely. Make it clear I didn't trust her. Couldn't trust her. Would never trust her again. I went to the bank at 2 p.m. Jennifer processed the paperwork removing Ava as joint account holder in less than 10 minutes. Mrs. Tucker, I should have questioned these withdrawals when they started. The amounts, the frequency, they weren't consistent with your normal banking patterns. You couldn't have known. We're trained to spot elder exploitation. I missed it. I'm sorry. After the bank, I drove to Ava's house in Southfield. A nice neighborhood. Trees lining the streets. Houses with 2-car garages and manicured lawns. Their house was a brick colonial with black shutters. Worth probably $320,000. The mortgage Ava said was $2,400 monthly. I rang the doorbell. Heard footsteps. Then Sophia's voice. Grandma. The door opened. My 9-year-old granddaughter stood there in her school uniform, smile wide. Hey, baby girl, is your mama home? She's in the kitchen. We're making cookies. Want to help? I followed Sophia through the house. Noticed things I hadn't paid attention to before. New furniture in the living room. Expensive leather sofa, probably $3,000. Giant TV on the wall, 75 inches at least, another $2,000. Kids' toys everywhere, not cheap plastic but quality educational stuff. This wasn't a house where people were struggling. This was a house where people were maintaining a lifestyle they couldn't afford. Ava looked up when I entered the kitchen, flour on her hands, Isaiah sitting at the table rolling cookie dough. Normal family scene, except nothing about us was normal anymore. Mom, I didn't know you were coming. We need to talk. Privately. Kids, go wash up and play in the living room for a bit. Sophia and Isaiah left reluctantly. Ava wiped her hands on a towel. Did you talk to a lawyer? I did. He's drafting a repayment agreement. You have 2 weeks to sign it and make the first payment. $500 monthly. Every month. No excuses, no exceptions. If you miss one payment, I file a lawsuit. $500 monthly? Mom, that's barely going to make a dent. At that rate, it'll take over 10 years. 13 years, actually. But David says that's probably the most you can afford given your financial situation. We could pay more if we had time to get back on our feet. If Brandon's Uber income stabilizes. If I pick up overtime. You had 4 months to get on your feet. You spent it stealing and lying. The timeline is what it is. Ava sat down heavily. What about the criminal charges? David mentioned those could happen. If you sign the agreement and stick to it, I won't pursue criminal charges. This stays civil. Family business. But Ava, if you default, if you lie to me again, if you try to manipulate me or claim I'm incompetent, I will pursue every legal option available. David was very clear about Michigan's elder abuse laws. I'm your daughter. You were my daughter. Right now, you're someone who stole from me. Whether we can rebuild anything beyond that depends entirely on your choices going forward. Mom, please, the kids. They don't understand why you're upset, why you're not coming around anymore. Sophia asked me yesterday if you were mad at her. That broke my heart. My grandchildren caught in the middle of their mother's mistakes. I'm not mad at them, I'm mad at you. Then don't punish them. Keep coming to visit. Keep being their grandmother. Whatever issues you have with me and Brandon, the kids didn't do anything wrong. She was right. They hadn't. But every time I walked into this house, I'd see furniture bought with my money, toys purchased with my savings, a lifestyle maintained by stealing from their widowed grandmother. How was I supposed to separate loving my grandchildren from resenting what their parents had done? I need time, Ava. Time to figure out if I can be in this house without feeling sick. Time to see if you're actually going to make this right or if you're just telling me what I want to hear. I'll make it right. I promise. You promised the withdrawals were for emergencies. You promised you wouldn't touch the money unless I needed help. You've made a lot of promises, baby girl. And you've broken every single one. I left before she could respond. Drove home through Detroit streets where I'd lived for 40 years, past the high school where I'd been principal. Turned onto Woodward Avenue where my paid-off house sat waiting. Gerald's house. Our house. The house I'd thought would be my security in retirement. But security wasn't about houses or bank accounts. It was about trust, about knowing that family meant something, about believing that the people you loved wouldn't see you as a resource to be exploited. And I'd lost that security the moment Ava made the first withdrawal, lost it more with every lie she told, lost it completely when she looked me in the eye and called theft borrowing. David Mitchell sent the repayment agreement to Ava via certified mail on Monday. I got a copy. 12 pages of legal language that boiled down to this. Ava and Brandon Hayes agree to repay Marianne Tucker $78,000 at $500 monthly for 156 months. First payment due September 15, 2025. Failure to make any payment constitutes default and authorizes immediate civil action. 13 years of $500 checks. 13 years of wondering each month if they'd actually pay. 13 years of my daughter being in debt to me for stealing from me. It felt less like justice and more like sentencing us both to permanent estrangement. Ava called Wednesday night. Mom, we got the agreement. We'll sign it. But I need to tell you something first. What? Brandon told me about the gambling, about the $18,000 that went to bookies. I didn't know, Mom. I swear I didn't know. But you knew about the other $60,000. You knew you were taking money I hadn't authorized. You knew every memo you wrote was a lie. I thought I was protecting our family, the kids' stability, our home. I thought if we could just get through the rough patch, we'd pay you back before you even noticed it was gone. How exactly were you planning to pay back $78,000 without me noticing? Did you think money just magically reappears in bank accounts? Silence. Because she hadn't thought that far ahead, hadn't planned beyond taking what she needed in the moment, hadn't considered consequences because consequences were always for other people, not for daughters stealing from their grieving mothers. We're signing the agreement tomorrow, Ava said finally. First payment will be in your mailbox by September 15th. I promise. Don't promise me anything, Ava. Just do it. That's all I want from you now. Action, not words. September 15th came. I checked my mailbox 3 times that day. At 4 p.m., there it was, an envelope with Ava's return address. Inside, a check for $500. Memo line. Repayment month 1 of 156. Month 1 of 156. Seeing it written out like that made me feel ancient. Made me realize I'd be 73 when this was paid off. If I lived that long. If they never missed a payment. If our relationship survived 13 years of this monthly reminder of betrayal. I deposited the check. Updated my spreadsheet tracking the stolen money. $77,500 remaining. Progress, I guess. But it felt hollow. October 15th, another $500 check arrived. On time. Properly documented. I deposited it without comment. November 15th, same thing. Ava was keeping her word, at least about the payments. But something else was happening. Something I hadn't anticipated. My church family at Greater Emmanuel Baptist had noticed my absence from Sunday services. I'd been a member for 25 years. Led the women's ministry for 10 years. After Gerald died, the church had surrounded me with support, meals, visits, prayer circles. They'd been there when I needed family. Now they noticed I was pulling away. Pastor Michael Williams called me in late October. Sister Marianne, we've missed you. Is everything all right? How do you explain to your pastor that your daughter stole from you? That family gatherings are impossible because you can't look at your son-in-law without feeling rage? That your grandchildren's faces remind you of money taken under false pretenses? I'm managing, Pastor, just working through some family difficulties. Would it help to talk about it? So I told him. Not the dollar amounts, not the legal details, just the core truth. My daughter took advantage of my grief, took money without permission, used my vulnerability against me. Pastor Michael was quiet for a long moment. Have you considered forgiveness? I'm trying. But forgiveness doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. Doesn't mean going back to how things were. No, it doesn't. Forgiveness means releasing the burden of anger so you can move forward. Whether that's with Ava or without her, that's between you and God. But sister, carrying this rage, it's eating you alive. I can hear it in your voice. He was right. For 3 months since discovering the theft, I'd been consumed by anger. Couldn't sleep. Couldn't enjoy anything. Couldn't stop calculating how much money was gone and how long recovery would take. The theft had stolen more than $78,000. It had stolen my peace. What do I do, Pastor? You pray. You seek counsel. You make decisions from a place of wisdom instead of emotion. And you remember that Ava is still your daughter. Flawed. Yes. Wrong. Absolutely. But still your child. That doesn't excuse what she did, but it might change how you respond to it. That conversation stayed with me, made me think about what I actually wanted. Did I want $500 monthly for 13 years and permanent estrangement? Did I want to die someday with this wall between me and my only child? Did I want Sophia and Isaiah to grow up knowing their grandmother chose money over relationship? But then I'd remember Ava's face when she got caught. Not remorseful, defensive, justifying, making excuses. She'd only signed the repayment agreement because David Mitchell threatened legal action. She'd only admitted the truth because she had no choice. That wasn't real change. That was damage control. November brought an unexpected complication. Brandon showed up at my door on a Wednesday evening. No call ahead, no warning. Just rang my bell at 7 p.m., looking worse than he had 2 months ago. "Marianne, I need to talk to you. We communicate through David Mitchell now. That's what the agreement says. This isn't about the agreement. This is about Ava." Something in his voice made me open the door. He came in, sat on my couch, put his head in his hands. "She's falling apart. Can't sleep. Lost 15 pounds. Her supervisor at the hospital pulled her aside last week, asked if she needed to take leave. She's making mistakes at work, missing details. Not the Ava you know. The Ava I knew wouldn't have stolen from me. I know. But Marianne, she's not eating. She's not sleeping. She just sits in the kids' room at night watching them sleep and crying. Yesterday, Sophia asked me why Mommy is always sad. What am I supposed to tell her? Tell her the truth, that Mommy made bad choices, and now she's dealing with consequences. She's your daughter, and I'm her mother, the mother she stole from, the mother she lied to, the mother she treated like a confused old woman who wouldn't notice money disappearing." Brandon looked at me with something like desperation. "What would it take? For you to forgive her? What would make this okay?" "I don't know if anything can make this okay, Brandon. She broke something fundamental. Trust, respect, the belief that family means something beyond financial opportunity. I don't know if that can be repaired. So we just pay $500 monthly for 13 years and never speak again? Never have family dinners? Never celebrate holidays? The kids grow up without their grandmother? The kids can visit me. Supervised. But Ava and I don't know what we are anymore. Mother and daughter, creditor and debtor, strangers with shared history? I honestly don't know. December arrived cold and gray, 3 months since I'd discovered the theft. 3 months of $500 checks arriving on the 15th, like clockwork. 3 months of living in my house alone, eating dinner in front of the TV, pretending I wasn't missing my family. Christmas was approaching. For 36 years, Gerald and I had hosted Christmas dinner. Turkey, ham, sweet potatoes, collard greens, peach cobbler. The whole family crowded into our dining room. After Gerald died, Ava had taken over hosting. Last year, her first Christmas without her father, I'd watched her try to recreate our traditions while grief sat heavy at the table. This year, I hadn't been invited. Hadn't expected to be. The repayment agreement felt like a wall between us that neither of us knew how to cross. On December 10th, a card arrived in my mailbox. Not from Ava, from Sophia. The envelope had stickers all over it, hearts and stars and Christmas trees. Inside was a drawing. Stick figures labeled Grandma, Mommy, Daddy, me, Isaiah. We were all holding hands. Under the drawing, in careful 9-year-old handwriting, "I miss you. Love, Sophia." I sat at my kitchen table and cried. Because my granddaughter missed me. Because she didn't understand why family gatherings had stopped. Because she'd drawn us holding hands like we used to, like maybe we still could if the adults could figure out how to forgive. That evening, Ava called. "Did you get Sophia's card?" I did. She made me promise to mail it. She's been asking every day when you're coming to visit. I don't know what to tell her anymore. Tell her the truth. That Grandma and Mommy are working through some grown-up problems. She's 9, Mom. She doesn't understand grown-up problems. She just knows her grandma used to come over every week and now you don't. She thinks you're mad at her. I'm not mad at her. Then prove it. Come to Christmas dinner. Just for the kids. You don't have to talk to me or Brandon. Just come see your grandchildren. I wanted to. Wanted to watch Sophia and Isaiah open presents. Wanted to eat dinner at a table full of family instead of alone with my grief. Wanted to pretend for one day that we were still the people we used to be. I'll think about it. Mom, I need to tell you something else. Brandon got a job offer, full-time warehouse supervisor at a logistics company, $52,000 a year plus benefits. He starts January 2nd. That was good news. Meant their income would go from $92,000 to $116,000. Meant they'd have an extra $2,000 monthly. Meant they could possibly pay me back faster. That's good, Ava. I'm glad he found something. It means we can increase the payments. Instead of $500, we could do $1,000 monthly, cut the repayment time in half. 6.5 years instead of 13. I'd be 67 instead of 73 when this was paid off. Still a long time, but more manageable. Put it in writing. Send the revised agreement to David Mitchell. If he approves it, we'll modify the terms. Thank you, Mom. Don't thank me, Ava. This isn't a gift. This is you paying back money you stole. She was quiet for a moment. I know. I want you to know we're trying. We're really trying to make this right. December 15th, the check arrived, but this time it was for $1,000, not $500. Memo, repayment month 4. Brandon's new job didn't start until January, but they'd somehow found the extra money. I deposited it. Updated my spreadsheet, $74,500 remaining. Christmas Eve, I made a decision. Drove to Ava's house at 5 p.m. Rang the doorbell, holding 2 wrapped presents. Sophia answered. Her face lit up like I'd brought her the moon. Grandma, you came. She hugged me tight. Isaiah appeared behind her. Grandma Kay. They pulled me inside. The house smelled like ham and cinnamon. Christmas music playing. Tree in the corner with lights. Normal family scene. Ava came out of the kitchen. Stopped when she saw me. Mom, you came. For the kids, like you said. Just for the kids. We made it through dinner. Ava and I barely spoke. Brandon stayed quiet. But Sophia and Isaiah talked enough for everyone. Told me about school, about their friends, about what they wanted from Santa. I watched them and remembered when Ava was that age. Before life got complicated. Before grief and money and lies created walls between us. After dinner, we opened presents. I'd bought Sophia a science kit. Isaiah a set of books about black inventors. They were thrilled. Hugged me. Thanked me. Made me promise to come back soon. Ava walked me to my car. Thank you for coming. It meant everything to them. I came for them, not for you. I know, but maybe this is a start? Maybe we can figure out how to be family again? I looked at my daughter standing in her driveway. She'd lost weight. Dark circles under her eyes. The stress of the past 4 months had aged her, but she was still my child. Still the little girl I'd raised. Still the woman who'd held my hand at Gerald's funeral and promised we'd get through anything together. Ava, I don't know if we can be what we were. Too much has happened. Too much trust has been broken. But maybe we can be something new? Something different? Not mother and daughter like before, but something? Maybe. But that's going to take time. And honesty. And you actually proving that you've changed. Not just making payments. Actually understanding why what you did was wrong. I do understand, Mom. Every day I wake up knowing I betrayed you. Every day I look at my kids and think about what I'd do if they ever treated me the way I treated you. It makes me sick. Then why did you do it? She started crying. Because I was scared. Because Brandon lost his job. And I didn't know how we'd survive. Because I looked at your bank account and saw all that money and thought you wouldn't miss it. Because I told myself it was temporary, that we'd pay it back, that it wasn't really stealing if I planned to return it, because I was desperate and weak and stupid. And because you didn't respect me, didn't see me as a person with needs and plans and security that mattered. You saw me as a resource. You're right, I did, and I hate myself for it. We stood there in the December cold, mother and daughter, creditor and debtor, strangers trying to remember how to be family. I need to go, I said. Tell the kids I'll come back. Not for holidays, not for big events, but for them, weekly visits, supervised, like we discussed. Thank you, Mom. I drove home thinking about forgiveness, about what Pastor Michael had said, about releasing the burden of anger. But forgiveness didn't mean forgetting, didn't mean pretending it never happened, didn't mean going back to how things were. It meant finding a way forward that didn't destroy us both. January 2026 brought changes. Brandon started his new warehouse job. Ava picked up 2 weekend shifts monthly at the hospital. The January 15th check was $1,000 as promised. February 15th, another $1,000. They were keeping their word. But something else was happening, something I hadn't anticipated. The church ladies started asking questions. Sister Dorothy cornered me after Sunday service in late January. "Marianne, honey, we heard about the troubles with Ava. Is it true she took money from you?" Small towns. Even in a city like Detroit, communities talk. Someone at the hospital where Ava worked knew someone at Greater Emmanuel. Word spread. It's a family matter, Sister Dorothy. We're working through it. Well, I just want you to know that if you need anything, if there's financial hardship, the church has a benevolent fund. I appreciate that, but I'm managing fine. But the conversation bothered me, not because Sister Dorothy was being nosy, because it made me realize that Ava's reputation was being destroyed. At work, at church, in the community, people were talking, judging, deciding that Ava Tucker Hayes was the kind of woman who stole from her widowed mother. That bothered me more than I expected. Yes, Ava had stolen. Yes, she'd lied. But did she deserve to have her entire character judged by her worst moment? Did I want my daughter to carry this shame publicly for the rest of her life? I called David Mitchell. The repayment plan is working. They're paying $1,000 monthly. I want to keep this private. Is there a way to make sure this doesn't become public record? As long as they keep paying and we don't file a lawsuit, it stays private, just a contract between family members. Why? Because I don't want my daughter's mistake to define her forever. Marianne, she stole $78,000 from you. I know what she did, but she's also a mother, a hospital administrator, someone trying to rebuild her life. If this becomes public, if it goes on any kind of record, it could destroy her career. Her kids would suffer. You're being more generous than most people would be. I'm being a mother. There's a difference. But generosity had limits. March brought a test of those limits. The March 15th check didn't arrive. I waited until March 18th, then called Ava. "Mom, I'm so sorry. We had an emergency. Isaiah's asthma got bad. Emergency room visit, $1,800 after insurance. We used the payment money for that. Ava, the agreement doesn't have exceptions for emergencies. You agreed to $1,000 monthly regardless." I know. But Mom, he couldn't breathe. We had to choose between paying you and getting our son medical care. She was right. What kind of grandmother would demand payment over a child's health? But what kind of daughter would miss the first payment after 4 months of keeping her word? Send me the emergency room bill. I'll verify it. If it's real, I'll let this month slide. But Ava, if you're lying to me again, I'm not lying. I'll send it today. The bill arrived via email within an hour. Beautifully Children's Hospital. Isaiah Hayes, age 7. Nebulizer treatment for acute asthma exacerbation. Total cost after insurance, 800 It was real, but it was also a reminder that life keeps happening, emergencies keep coming, and a repayment plan based on $1,000 monthly only worked if nothing else went wrong. Which in real life, things always went wrong. I called David Mitchell again. I want to restructure the agreement. Make it more flexible. Base it on a percentage of their income instead of a fixed amount. If they have emergencies, they can pay less. If they have good months, they pay more. That's unusual, but we can draft that. What percentage? 10% of their combined monthly income after taxes. Right now, that's about $900. If Brandon gets a raise or Ava gets a promotion, it goes up automatically. If they have setbacks, it goes down. You're making this very easy on them. No, I'm making it sustainable. A plan they can actually stick to instead of defaulting and forcing me to sue them. The revised agreement was drafted and signed by early April. New terms. Ava and Brandon would pay 10% of their monthly net income toward the $78,000 debt. Estimated payback time, 7 to 9 years depending on income changes. More flexible, more forgiving, more likely to succeed. But relationships weren't rebuilding as fast as the payment plan. I saw Sophia and Isaiah every Saturday afternoon, picked them up at 2 p.m., brought them to my house, helped with homework, played games, made them Gerald's favorite cookies. But Ava stayed in the car when she dropped them off. We didn't speak beyond logistics. In May, Sophia asked the question I'd been dreading. We were sitting at my kitchen table working on her math homework, multiplication tables. She looked up at me with those serious 9-year-old eyes. "Grandma, why don't you like Mommy anymore?" "Baby girl, I love your mommy. She's my daughter. But you don't talk to her. You don't come to our house except for Christmas. You don't do anything with us as a family. How do you explain adult betrayal to a child? How do you tell your granddaughter that her mother stole money, that trust was broken, that some relationships can't go back to what they were? Your mommy and I have some grown-up problems we're working through. It doesn't mean I don't love her. It just means we need time to figure things out." "How much time?" "I don't know, sweetheart. Isaiah thinks you hate us. He told his friend at school that our grandma doesn't want to be our grandma anymore. That broke my heart. That's not true. I will always be your grandma. Always. No matter what happens with your mommy. I love you and your brother. That never changes. Then why can't you just forgive her?" Out of the mouths of children. Why couldn't I just forgive her? Because forgiveness felt like saying what she did was okay. Because forgiveness felt like letting her off easy. Because forgiveness felt like I was the one who had to change, instead of her proving she'd changed. But sitting across from Sophia, seeing the confusion and hurt in her eyes, I realized something. My inability to forgive Ava wasn't just punishing Ava, it was punishing these children. Making them feel like their family was broken. Making them question whether their grandmother's love was conditional. "I'm trying, baby girl. I'm really trying. Forgiveness is hard when someone hurts you badly, but I'm working on it. Will you work faster? Because I miss having you at Sunday dinner. I miss our family being together." "I'll try." After I took the kids home that day, I sat in my car outside Ava's house for 20 minutes, watched through the window as she hugged them, as they told her about their afternoon with Grandma. As normal family life continued inside a house that looked perfect from the outside, but was held together by monthly payments and broken trust. June marked 10 months since the discovery. 10 months of payments. 10 months of Saturday visits with grandchildren. 10 months of seeing my daughter only in passing, exchanging nothing more than necessary logistics. The money situation had improved. Brandon got a promotion to assistant operations manager in May. His salary increased to $58,000. Combined with Ava's income, their 10% payment jumped from $900 to about $1,100 monthly. They were ahead of schedule now. At this rate, the debt would be paid off in 6 years instead of 9. But what bothered me wasn't the money. It was realizing that even when the debt was paid, even when every dollar was returned, our relationship would still be broken. The money was just a symptom. The real damage was trust. And trust didn't heal on a payment schedule. July brought an unexpected phone call. From Brandon. "Marianne, I need to tell you something. I've been clean from gambling for 11 months. Haven't placed a single bet. Been attending GA meetings twice weekly. Got my 6-month chip. Working toward my 1 year. That's good, Brandon. I'm glad you're getting help. But I need to make my own amends. The money I stole, the $18,000 that went to gambling debts, that was separate from what Ava took. She took $60,000 for legitimate family expenses, even if she took it wrong. My $18,000 was pure addiction, pure selfishness." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I want to pay back my portion separately, on top of the 10% we're already paying, an extra $200 monthly until my $18,000 is covered. It'll take me 6.5 years, but it's my debt, not Ava's. Mine." I didn't know what to say. Brandon was taking responsibility, actually owning his mistakes instead of hiding behind Ava's choices. That's not required under our agreement. I know, but it's required for my recovery. Step 9 in GA. Make direct amends wherever possible. I can't undo what I did, but I can pay back what I took. Then yes. Thank you. That means something. After we hung up, I realized Brandon was changing in ways Ava wasn't. He was in therapy, working a program, making active choices to be different. Ava was just making payments and hoping time would fix everything. August brought Sophia's 10th birthday. Ava called me. "Mom, she wants you at her party. Not just to visit. She wants you there for the whole thing, family and friends. She made me promise to invite you. I don't think that's a good idea. Please. She's turning 10. It's a milestone. She shouldn't have to choose between her grandmother and her friends, between family peace and her birthday." Sophia had been caught in the middle of this for a year, missing family dinners, explaining to friends why her grandmother didn't come around. Watching her mother pay penance for mistakes a 10-year-old shouldn't have to understand. "Fine. I'll come. What day?" "August 17th, Saturday, 2 p.m., at our house." The party was bigger than I expected. 20 kids from school. Parents I didn't know. Extended family I hadn't seen in a year. Ava's sister Carol, Brandon's brother James. People who knew about the theft, who'd taken sides, who were watching to see how this would play out. I brought Sophia a telescope. She'd mentioned wanting to look at stars. It cost $340, which was probably too much, but she was my granddaughter, and I'd missed her 9th birthday entirely because I was too angry to show up. She opened it and screamed. Actually screamed with joy. Hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. "Grandma, thank you, thank you, thank you." And for a moment, surrounded by birthday chaos, it felt almost normal. Like we were still a family. Like Gerald was still alive. Like the past year had been a bad dream I could wake up from. But then I saw Ava across the room, talking to Carol. Carol saying something sharp, Ava's face crumpling, Carol walking away. The judgment hadn't stopped, the family gossip hadn't ended. Ava was still paying socially for what she'd done. After the party, after the kids went inside, after most guests left, I found Ava sitting on her back porch, crying quietly. I almost walked past, almost got in my car and left. But something made me sit down next to her. Carol won't let me see my nieces anymore, says I'm a bad influence, says she doesn't want her kids around someone who steals from family. Carol's always been judgmental. She's right though, I am a bad influence. I stole from my own mother. What kind of person does that? A desperate one, a scared one, a human one who made terrible choices. I've paid back $11,000, only $67,000 left to go. At this rate, Isaiah will be in high school before I'm done paying for my mistakes. We sat in silence for a while, listening to kids playing inside, listening to the normal sounds of a family gathering, sounds that used to be ours, but felt foreign now. Ava, I need to ask you something, and I need the truth. Okay, do you actually understand why what you did was wrong? Not wrong because you got caught, not wrong because you have to pay it back. Wrong because of what it did to us. She was quiet for a long time. I betrayed you. When you needed family most, when you were grieving Dad, when you were vulnerable, I saw an opportunity instead of a mother who needed protection. I made you feel like you couldn't trust your own judgment, like maybe you really were declining, like maybe everyone was right to worry about you. And I stole your security. The money Dad's life insurance left. The money you'd saved for retirement. The peace of knowing you'd be okay. I took that. For furniture and cars and maintaining a lifestyle we couldn't afford. I put appearance over integrity. I put my comfort over your dignity. Those were the words I'd been waiting a year to hear. Not excuses. Not justifications. Just acknowledgement of the real harm she'd caused. Thank you for saying that. Does it change anything? I don't know. But it's a start. We sat there as the sun set over Southfield, mother and daughter, creditor and debtor. Two women trying to find their way back to each other through the wreckage of broken trust. Mom, what if we never get back to normal? What if this is just who we are now? Then maybe we build something new. Not what we were, but something different. Something honest. I'd like that, if you're willing to try. I'm willing to try, baby girl. But it's going to take time. More time than 6 years of payments. More time than Saturday visits with the kids. Real time to rebuild real trust. I'll wait. However long it takes. 18 months later, February 2027. I sat in my living room on Woodward Avenue, the house Gerald and I had built a life in, looking at my bank statement. Balance, $89,000. Ava and Brandon had paid back $22,000 over 20 months, $56,000 remaining. At their current rate, 4 more years until the debt was cleared. 4 more years felt manageable now, not like a life sentence. Just time passing while relationships slowly, carefully rebuilt. Things were different, not fixed, different. Ava and I had dinner together once a month now, just the two of us. At neutral restaurants where neither of us had memories. We talked about surface things mostly. Her job. My volunteer work at the literacy center, the kids' activities. We didn't talk about the theft unless payments came up. That wound was still too tender to touch often. Brandon had been gambling free for 18 months, paid his separate $200 monthly without fail. He'd recovered $3,600 of his $18,000. 14 years to go on his personal debt, but he was different, humbler, more honest, more willing to admit when he was struggling. The kids were thriving. Sophia, now 11, had joined her school's science club, used the telescope I'd bought her to track constellations. Isaiah, 9, had his asthma under better control. We had our Saturday routine. Homework, cookies, stories about their grandfather Gerald. They were too young to remember clearly. But the family gatherings hadn't resumed. Thanksgiving was still separate. Christmas still felt forced. Easter we'd tried to celebrate together, and it had been awkward, everyone careful not to mention money or trust or the 4 years of payments still ahead. Some relationships don't heal, they just learn to exist with scars. That's what Pastor Michael had tried to tell me back in October 2025. Forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It just creates space to build something new alongside it. Last week, Ava brought me something, a framed photo. From Sophia's birthday party back in August 2025, the moment Sophia opened the telescope, pure joy on her face. Ava and I both in the frame, both smiling, both focused on this child we loved. "I wanted you to have this," Ava said. "To remember that even in the worst times, there were still good moments." I put it on my mantle next to Gerald's photo. 2 reminders, one of love that ended too soon, one of love that survived despite everything. I'm Marianne Tucker. I'm 62 years old now. 2 years ago, my daughter stole $78,000 from my bank account while I was grieving my husband. She thought I wouldn't notice. Thought my grief made me vulnerable. She was right about the vulnerable part, wrong about the noticing. What happened after I discovered the theft taught me things I wish I didn't know. That family can betray you in ways strangers never could. That love and theft can somehow exist in the same person. That forgiveness is possible even when forgetting isn't. That some relationships can't be repaired, only rebuilt differently. The money will be paid back eventually. 4 years from now, maybe sooner if Brandon keeps getting promoted. The financial debt will be cleared. But the emotional debt? That's measured differently. In Saturday afternoons with grandchildren. In monthly dinners where we practice being family again. In the slow, hard work of rebuilding trust, one honest conversation at a time. Was I right to pursue repayment? To make Ava and Brandon pay back every dollar? Some people say I should have just forgiven the debt. That family matters more than money. But I needed them to understand that actions have consequences, that stealing from family isn't love, no matter how desperate you are. Was I wrong to let them back into my life at all? Some people say I should have pressed criminal charges. That elder abuse deserves punishment, not payment plans. But they're still my daughter, my son-in-law, the parents of my grandchildren. Completely cutting them off would have hurt innocent kids. I don't have easy answers, just the life I'm living, the relationship I'm building, the choice I make every month when that check arrives to accept payment and continue forward instead of staying stuck in anger. Now I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments. Have you ever had to choose between justice and mercy with family? Have you ever been betrayed by someone you loved and had to decide if rebuilding was possible? Hit that subscribe button if this story made you think about your own family dynamics, about the price of forgiveness, about whether relationships can survive financial betrayal. Because the truth is, there are no perfect answers. Just imperfect people trying to do better, trying to be better, trying to find their way back to each other through the mess they've made. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.